Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host for the Leaders of the Heart podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, David. David has a tremendous story. I'll let himself say it, but basically, David helps people become the most fully alive, authentic, best version of themselves, and he has an amazing story, a beautiful business with a tremendous mission, and is a true leader with a heart. So that's why he's on the call today with me. So I'm very excited for that. David, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Payman. I'm excited to be here.
Good to hear. Awesome. So first of all, for people that don't know you, who's David? Tell us a little bit about you and your story.
Yeah, so that's a fun topic. I love talking about identities. So I'm a bunch of stuff. I'm a dad, I'm a husband. I've been married for 13 years. I have two little girls. They're 4 and 7 little balls of fire. uh, and business owner, adventurer. I love spending time outside in the mountains, exploring, just seeing the world through experiencing adventure is something that I'm really passionate about. And then also a musician. I love playing music. I don't play as much these days, but in the past I've played a lot. So there's just a few.
Wow, that's amazing. You mentioned musician, and I can see behind you quite a couple of guitars, drums.
Yeah,
I mean, you have almost everything for an entire band. So
yeah.
what your strength? What is your favorite instrument to play?
Oh, you know what? That's a great question. And actually, my favorite instrument is not anything that you can play. It's actually to sing.
Oh, you're the singer. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
I actually really love singing. So I grew up playing music. My mom taught me the piano when I was like 6, right? And just started playing basic when I was 6. And then I played from 6 to like 22. I was going to be a musician. Like that was the goal. I remember like in high school, I think it was, or junior high or something. And I was talking to a friend on the phone and she was like, "Hey, so what are you going to do if music doesn't work out?" And I was just like, click. I was like, that's not even an option. I was, how dare you suggest that music isn't going to work out? That's how like into music I was for like all of my childhood and growing up through high school and everything. But I grew up playing the piano, and then when I got into elementary school, I started playing the trumpet, and then played that all the way through high school in high school jazz. And then also in I think late junior high, I started playing the drums and started playing in rock bands. Um, so music has always been a huge part of my life, and I always sang. But then I'm kind of skipping ahead. We can go back again because there's some fun stories in there. But
Sure,
uh,
sure.
when like 3 or 4 years ago, I decided I wanted to fulfill a childhood dream of mine, which was to write and record an album.
Oh,
And
wow.
in doing so, I wanted to play almost everything on the album except guitar. I can't play those at all. I'm terrible at the guitar. I'm like that slow at changing chords. Um, but so I went and took vocal lessons for like a year
Wow.
so that I could really, do my best in recording the album and singing on the album.
Cool.
So yeah.
So you mentioned that you get involved in music around the age of 6. Who inspired you to get into music? Was it something innate, natural inside of you, or someone around your family that inspired you to get into music? What was the story on that?
I think it was innate for
Oh,
me.
wow.
There's a lot of and if you think about like your family history and all that, there's a lot of music on my dad's side of the family.
Nice.
Actually, on both sides, but especially my dad's side. Everybody was like could play the piano or could sing, or like everybody had some sort of ability in music. So I think I've always had that like inner drive for that.
So you were born with a microphone or maybe with a music book in your hands as soon as you came into this world, basically, yeah?
Yep, written on the DNA, I think.
Was it one of the first gifts you remembered receiving from your parents? Is something music related?
I don't know if it was that, I'm sure I still have one of my childhood stuffed animals. I've got like one. So I don't, and it was a bear. I don't think I got an instrument for my first gift
You
or
mentioned
anything.
you're a singer. What type of songs do you sing?
I really enjoy, what would you say? So I grew up kind of in the high school era of like the emo indie rock sort of
Oh, I
scene.
see.
And so I like kind of like the powerful soaring melodies. that they're not really pop. Actually, I like pop a lot more than I did when I was in high school. That wasn't cool back then. Uh, so I like singing the melodies that have like big soaring things like that. That's my favorite style to sing, and
So,
sort of like the alternative genre.
so growing up, what would you say were your favorite musicians or bands?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite bands of all time. Still really enjoy them is Incubus, and
Okay.
I feel like I got a ton of the way that I sing and the way that I play the drums from that band. Like that was a huge piece. And then also just like so much from playing in jazz, there was all of that traditional
Oh,
jazz and musicians. And um, a quick cool story about that. When I was a sophomore in high school, we had this like amazing seniors. There's a couple of people in there that were just like ridiculously talented. Um, and so we entered a bunch of contests that year. And the first one we entered was like play a cover of a Big Bad Voodoo Daddy song. Have you heard of that band?
not really,
This,
no.
they're like the swing band they're like fairly well known in the jazz swing world. Like they played for at the White House and like,
Ah, okay.
um, yeah, they're well known. And so we recorded one of their songs in our high school band and we sent it in and we won. we were and they
Beautiful.
chose us, and so they came to our high school and we got to play a concert with them. We sold out our gymnasium. It was like 500 people in our gymnasium. We got to play a concert with these guys. And then from there we got to we entered another contest which is called the Duke Ellington Festival, which is to go to they take the top 10 bands in the country to go play in New York at Lincoln Center. And we got into that one also. We got in the top 10. We didn't win that one, but we got in. So I got to go play at Lincoln Center, go to like the Iridium Jazz Club. I got to shake hands with Wynton Marsalis, like,
Wow.
very famous jazz musician. So just, yeah, some really cool like opportunities and experiences I've come through playing music.
I can imagine. So you mentioned that you wanted to record your own album. Did
Yeah,
you end up doing that?
I did. Yeah.
What's the name?
So the artist name that I use is the Forgotten Art, and the album is called Themes.
Okay. You have a website for that or anything where people can find out about it?
I'll give you like the I gotta find the link where it'll like bump you out to Spotify or whatever
Okay.
streaming platform you want to use. It's on every streaming platform, so you can
Oh, awesome.
you can search for it anywhere.
Now I have that's something that I haven't I never had to ask anyone to do, but maybe I would be something that if you're open to that, could you sing something for us right now live?
I don't know if I'm prepared for that at the moment.
A cappella,
Uh,
nothing, just you know, not a
I,
whole song, maybe just like a short. I mean,
I
that's
don't
only
even,
if you wanted to, no pressure, you know.
let's I'll pass on it this time, but
Okay,
I'm very proud of the album, and I would love for any of you who want to
sure.
listen to what I've created on there. And I tried to make that like a journey too, where it's like you listen to one song and then the next song is like over here, and then this song is like, and you're like, whoa, what? Because I love that. I love listening to an album where you're like surprised by what comes next, and you're like, oh,
Sure.
that was cool. Oh, interesting,
Exactly.
and not just like the same thing over and over.
Yeah. So would it be okay to do that when we do the podcast together with the rest of your team? That
You want
gives,
me to sing something live?
please, that would be amazing. That's gonna take it viral.
All right, all right. I will consider it. I've got a new song I've been working on, or I can play one of my other ones too. I've got a giant green piano right here, so I can
Wow.
change the camera and
So
set
that
up
would be
something.
like a world premiere. Yeah. Wow. I feel
Yeah.
blessed for that. That's homework, buddy.
Yeah. Ooh, I love it. You're challenging me, making me grow right here on the spot.
Exactly. And this is completely unscripted, completely, so I love,
Yeah.
wow, amazing. So since music is such a play, it's been playing such a big role in your life, what would you say has been, say, the one biggest lesson you've learned from music that you can apply to
Mm.
any other aspects of your life, whether it's personal, business, or anything else?
I think that one of the biggest lessons that I've taken away from music is that it's so individual.
Hmm.
And I think that applies to life in so many different ways. So like what really resonates with you and you're like, oh man, I love this artist, I love this song, this like makes me feel this way. And I feel that in if we treat our lives like that also, we're like, oh, you know, what is it for me that makes me come alive? What is that thing? And like pursuing that path, um, that's really where we can find the most fulfillment. Because if we're trying to like fit into some cookie cutter of like, okay, well, everyone says I should like this song, but I don't like this song, or you know, like we get into that like shoulding and I should be like this and this is the cookie cutter and this is the template. And so I've always felt that the individualization in anything that I'm doing is where the magic is at. And I think that music is a great example of that.
Wow. So one thing, for me, just like for you, music has been a big part of your life. For me, it was sport. I grew up in France. I played football, soccer at a decent level. And so, some of the biggest lesson I learned in life were through sports, because sports for me is one of the biggest schools of life. You learn about teamwork, helping others, being competitive, not giving up, and all that. So would you say that music can also be similar to sport, because in some way music is also a sports, a team sport, because you have people around you, for example your guitarist, your bassist, and other your technician and all that, your videographer and all that. So would you agree with that music also is, yes, the star is usually the singer, but hey, it's a teamwork.
For sure. Yeah, I think there's a ton of overlap in that, you know, working together and figuring out how to be a team and like how to practice well and you know how to what works well for that person. You know, you have different positions just like in a sport. Like, oh, you're much better over here than you're better over here, and let's use those things. And especially when you're like writing songs together, there's a lot of that could not go well in that process. And so yeah, it's really
Do
I
you
totally
write
agree
your own
with that.
songs, or?
I do. Yeah.
Wow, that's
I
amazing.
love that's a fun that's like the most fun for me is when I have an idea and then it starts to unfold and then I'm like, yes. And then I've lost like 5 hours of time because I was like sucked into that creative process and I'm like, oh man, I better go like hang out with my kids.
So where do you get your inspiration? Do you go on long walks? Do you meditate? Do you just take a long shower and close your eyes? Or what do you have something special that you do to get inspiration and creative flow, juices from your subconscious mind or whatever come to you and bless you with that? Do you have anything special?
I tend in the past historically have tended to write from difficulty.
Oh, okay.
So like if there's some challenge that I've gone through or something that I've learned, and I feel like as a person in general, the past few years I've grown exponentially. And so, but like a few years ago, I went through a more challenging time, and that's when a lot of the music came out for the album that I wrote, the inspiration for it. And it was just like it was a very interesting time of just like what's going on. Like it just wouldn't stop. It was coming out like nonstop for months until I was like, I just wrote 11 songs. You know, actually I wrote more than that because I didn't use all the ones that I liked. And it was like lessons that I had learned or just like feelings that I was working through or, you know, different things that had come from a long time. Because what happened was part of the story was when I wrote this album was I stopped playing music from when I was like 23 for 8 years. Like
Wow.
I stopped altogether. And then
Wow.
I realized that happened and I was like,
Why did you
what just
stop?
happened?
What made you
You
stop?
know, why did I stop?
Yeah.
It was not like a conscious decision. It wasn't like I'm going to stop playing music. It was like I got married.
Oh,
Uh, we moved into a condo, so I couldn't even play my drums at all. Uh, and then like all of my other bandmates that I was playing with, they all like got married. We started having kids. Like it was just kind of like a natural evolution to where it just kind of fell apart. Um, and then that's what during that time is also when my wife and I opened our gym. So we were starting a gym. So it was kind of a just a okay. This is obviously I'm probably not going to be making a career money wise out of this. Yeah, I love it, but I need to do something where I'm going to make money, and also I want to do something that matters too. And then so that's what led us into opening our gym, and then I stopped playing music for 8 years. So
do you play
it's
do you play
crazy.
your own music at your gym?
Yeah, I didn't play at all. Like it was crazy because there was literally a day when I was like, I haven't picked up a drumstick or played a piano or done anything for 8 years. Like, how did that happen? I was pretty mad actually at first. I was like, couldn't believe that I had made that decision unconsciously.
So you said you've written quite a few songs, and you mentioned on your albums you have 11 songs. Which one would you say is your personal favorite, and why?
Uh, my personal favorite is called Lost Arts
Okay.
because it's the song about that, about like forgetting music and then coming back to it. And like,
Beautiful.
and it was the first song I wrote. And when I started writing, and my friend who played guitar, who came in and played guitar on the album, was like, it was like magic when we got together. It was like, yes. I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. Here's how I like. And he's like, okay, so what, like this, you know, and just plays this like perfect lick. And I was like, yes. And so I actually just listened to the other day just the drums and the guitar from when we originally recorded it just by itself. And it just feels so good. I love just listening to him play and like, yeah,
I'm excited. I wanna, as soon as this call is over, I'm gonna go and try to listen to your album for sure, man.
cool,
I'm
cool.
excited. I'll definitely, because I always love, finding and exploring new artists, and that's awesome. Yeah, wow, cool. So let me see. So now you said you have a gym, you have a coaching business. Tell us
Yeah.
a little about what you're up to. What's your business? What's your main business?
So right now, currently, my main business is that I am working with small business owners in helping them to create a business that they love and a life that they love at the same time.
Mm, okay. So how exactly are you helping them? Are you
Mm.
focusing on a specific niche and small businesses? Are you focusing on online businesses, offline businesses? Are you focusing on a specific niche or industry, or just anyone that wants to be helped?
Yeah, so I haven't decided to pick a super particular niche, but I have some sort of parameters that I generally
Mhm.
like. Um, and one of them is just I love working with service-based industries because I know that industry. Like being a small business owner, having a gym for 8 years, like I know what it's like to be kind of the person in charge on your own, but without really any support. And
Mhm.
so that's part of what motivated me was like, I want to be that person that I wished I had in running that small business to really help me stay on track and accelerate the momentum of where I want to go. And then to your point of like, giving back, I love helping small business owners who are also contributing to the world in a meaningful way.
Beautiful.
So like, and that doesn't necessarily have to be some, big thing or whatever, but it's cool when I'm like, because right now I have a couple of therapists that I work with. They own their therapy offices. And so I know like right now, especially in the world that we live in, those people are really important. They're helping a lot of people who are really struggling. And
Sure.
so for me to get to help them grow their business and grow their personal life so that they can further support all these people who need their help, I love that.
That's amazing. Wow. We'll get into that a bit later because that's going to be a big part of this podcast. But you mentioned that you're also a gym owner. What would you say would you say is your single greatest challenge as a gym owner?
Mm. And so just to be clear, we closed the gym. I don't run the gym
Oh,
anymore. I only do this now. But the biggest challenge, I think it's a mindset.
okay.
It's like you work so hard, you develop this relationship with this person, you help them, and then at some point they're gonna leave, and that doesn't feel good every time because it's like it's normal in the fitness industry. And I had really good retention. I had people stay with me for years. Um, and so I felt really good about that. But the challenge for sure is like every time you got that email or every time you got that message, like, hey, this is gonna be my last month or whatever,
Mm.
I feel like as with many small business owners and any entrepreneur, anytime you get that, like, all right, I worked so hard to to help and get this thing, and now it's gone.
What would you say was the number one reason these people just left the gym?
Hmm, that's a good question. It's kind of like the general life cycle of working with somebody, and you're asking them to do pretty challenging things
Mm-hmm.
often. And so sometimes you help them, you get to where they want to go, and then they're like, awesome, thank you, you helped me get where I want to go. And then other times they're just deciding they don't want to put in the work anymore. And so my goal is always to help people grow into where they could do it on their own eventually. And so in some cases that also would happen. Like this one particular client that I had, she has like an amazing story. She ended up losing 100 pounds,
Wow.
and then yeah, over the course of a year, which is
You do.
crazy. And what she do? Yeah. So what she did was she set up her life completely to not be able to fail.
That's
She sold her
awesome.
car. She
Wow.
sold her car. And so she had to ride her bike to and from work. She had to ride her bike to and from my gym. And this was like totally her decision. This is just like I'm still inspired by the story because her commitment to what she wanted to achieve
Beautiful.
was higher than anybody else's. And she also got the best results. I mean, just think about like where we live, it's colder where you are, but it's like, close to freezing a lot of the winter time here. And she would ride her bike in the dark, in the rain after work to my gym to come work out, and then ride her bike home, like
That's
all winter
amazing.
long.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So it's crazy, but I just love that, like the power of making a decision like that and how that can transform your life. I think that anybody, including myself, we can all learn from that.
Sure. So you said she lost 100 pounds. So she went from what to what?
What did she end up at? She was, I think she got, so I think her ended up at around like 160. And so she was like 260 something when she
That's a
started.
quite a change. It's almost a complete life change. Wow.
Yeah. Incredible.
And the beautiful thing is, once you start having results in one aspect of your life, and I'm talking about from personal experience because I went through that myself, it it trickles to every other part of your life. Because I used to be very active. I played football, soccer, and also was worked as a coach, football coach in China and Hong Kong for 2, 3 years. So I was always active, always playing football, tennis, and everything. But the past few years, I would say I was become less and less active, more even lazy, and was getting fat. Especially this when I came back home from Hong Kong earlier this year, especially with the pandemic and all that, not being able to go anywhere. I was on the royal path to looking like Homer Simpson,
Mm.
like especially the upper body, like a completely shapeless potato. And as I was just going towards turning 40, I just turned 40 like in October. Said, okay, if I go like this, I'm gonna be the typical 40-year-old, and that's definitely not what I want to do. So back in May, I started. Back at that time, I could not even do 10 lousy push-ups.
Mm.
Funny story. I was staying with my just staying here with family. I was in my bedroom just doing my series of 10 push-ups, and I was counting loudly, 6, 7, 8, 9. And my two sisters and a husband, my older sister husband were in the living room. All of a sudden, they heard me almost like you know, panting, and they get scared. They came running to my room, said, "Are you okay?" And I was, when they came, I had finished, and I was just on the floor like this. And they thought, "Are you okay? Do you want us to call 911?" I said, "No, no, no, I'm okay. I'm working out." And at that moment, it hit me. I was so embarrassed for me just to do
Yeah.
10 push-ups to be like that. I said, "No way, no way." And after that, long story short, I started very little with only 3 series of 10 push-ups in the morning and the same at night. So basically what, 60 push-ups a day, which is
Mhm.
nothing. But for me at the time was wow. And what I would do each week, I would add 5 more. So for week one, 3 series of 10 push-ups times 6, week two, 15, and so on and so forth. By doing this was early May this year. Then by August 1st, I had reached 3 series of 50. So I was doing 300 push-ups a day, divided in
Mm.
three, morning, afternoon, evening. And then I kept pushing, and then by October I get to three series of. So I did 300 push-ups a day, and then by October I bumped it to 500 a day. And for the past month or so, I've been doing series of 60 push-ups. I'm doing 600 a day. I can easily push it to 1,000 a day, but I think that's going to be way too much. But right now, the story about, the lesson is that around 2 3 months after, I started seeing some changes. I started seeing, obviously I started also doing something else, which was, I hate running, but I love biking. So I went
Hmm.
on 1 to 2 or 3 hour biking every morning. We live like outside of Toronto in a small town, so I would go to the next town biking, loading up my headphone with my favorite podcast and all that. I would go for 2 3 hours, and also I changed my diet. I used to eat all the crap. I wouldn't pay attention, but now I only ate twice a day, salad and white meat. And by doing that, I lost 30 pounds in 2 months. But the
Nice.
most important thing was the shapeless potato on the way to becoming Homer Simpson started changing. I started to see some definition on my shoulders, on my chest. But the first time I was looking at myself in the mirror with a V sign just under my right here under my arms, I said, "Holy smoke, is that me?" And for the first time, it hit me now. I understand why all these guys and girls that are on Instagram and especially on a lot very involved in fitness, why these guys are spending so much time in front of the mirror. Because I was almost after every set, I was just looking in the mirror myself.
Yeah.
It trickles into everything else. So the point is, once you start having success in one area of your life, it affects your other thing. It increases your your confidence. It
Hmm.
increases your energy. I used to be very, I would say, lazy, no drive, no desire to do anything. But now, I'm a different person,
Hmm.
completely different. I have things to do. I get them to do, especially now that I have this opportunity to build a business with a heart and mission and a purpose. I feel more alive than ever before.
That's awesome. I
You
love
know,
it.
it
Yeah.
starts just with one area, and it starts just with one kind of little thing. For me, it started with just 10 push-ups. One
Hmm.
mistake that a lot of people make, including myself, is that we compare ourselves to others. Oh, this guy is doing like 500 a day, and I'm not even able to do 10. I suck.
Yeah.
No, your competition is here, is yourself.
Hmm.
The moment well, we all know that, but the moment you really internalize it, really accept it, that's when things change,
Yeah.
at least from my perspective, from my personal experience. So it's amazing that I love your story of this client of yours that went from 260 to 160. And I love her commitment of selling a car. That's something amazing.
Hmm.
Maybe you should, if you, I don't know if you have a podcast, but if you do have a podcast, that would be the first person I would bring on my podcast if I were you, because she has a tremendous story to share.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I have done some podcasting, but we don't have to get into that so much
No,
today. Don't have a ton of time. Um, yeah. Two things that stood out to me. What you just said there, though, is you had all this energy, and I think, in my opinion, there are two things that create all that energy and that momentum. And one is just like you started with the push-ups, because we are wired to move as human beings. Whether or not we acknowledge that fact or do anything about it, it's just a fact. Like, we are wired to move. And so when you start moving and you keep going in that direction, then obviously we feel better. But I think more importantly than that is, you said you had a purpose,
exactly.
right? The purpose, if you can figure that out, if you can get to that thing right there, then that is going to give you more energy than anything else you could possibly think of. Like, no amount of caffeine or B vitamins or whatever is going to give you more drive, energy than a clear purpose. And so I
Exactly.
love that you have that and are like going after that. And then, yeah, when you move on top of that and take care of your body, you're like unstoppable.
Thank you. When I totally agree with that. Totally agree, man. Yeah, for sure. Just lost the thought of my, wow. Anyways, um, what I was about to ask, I just lost the train of thoughts. Um, Damn, sometimes you just, you were talking. I didn't want to interrupt you. I had an idea, and then now that you finished talking, I lost it, you know. And that's
It's
another example that is completely raw, uncut, you know.
yeah, yeah,
So
it's all good. Love it.
the next one thing I want to ask you is, what is the single worst advice you've ever received?
Ooh. Hmm.
You don't have to name any names, obviously.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of anything that really stands out. I I don't think I have a good answer for you. I feel super fortunate. Like
Mhm.
my parents always like supported us in whatever we wanted to do. And, you know, part of the drive that I think I have for entrepreneurship
Mhm.
and being where I'm at now is like seeing my dad work a corporate 9 to 5 for his whole life and not really be very happy, you know. And I mean, he's actually like all things considered pretty happy generally in the rest of his life, but you know, he worked at a job that he hasn't liked
Yeah.
for his whole life. And so I
Cool.
feel very fortunate to have had like supportive parents and like cool teachers in school that were like, yeah, like go do what you want to do. And so I can't off the top of my head think of any terrible advice that I got.
Cool. That's awesome. So, alternately, what is the single greatest piece of advice you've ever received?
Best advice ever received. Oh man, you're asking these tough questions. Trying to think back. I've had, I think maybe not. Ed, hmm, I don't know who exactly I learned this from, but the saying yes when you know it's the right move, even if you're like, I don't know where the money's going to come from. I'm not sure, like, you know, I'm not sure how all the pieces are going to fall into place, but just taking a step and like saying yes when you feel it in your bones that like this is the right next move for me to make. I think that might be one of the most important lessons that I've learned over the years because I can literally trace back like if I hadn't met this person, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have
Exactly.
met that person. I wouldn't be here. Like I can draw straight lines all the way back to like my 20
Me too.
with and I think that that is so cool.
Yeah, I think I fully believe that everything happens for a reason. You know, when you know, I was just me, for example. I was wondering what to do with my life, and then I've been following Akbar for a long time, and then around March, I got when I as soon as I landed from Hong Kong the next day, I was just catching up with messages on Facebook, and I got a bunch of spams, and for some reason he sent me a one line message saying, "Want to learn how to make more so you can give more," and that really resonated with me. I clicked on the link. The link took me to his webinar. Believe it or not, I watched his webinar 3 times back to back to back. I took a ton of notes. Say, yes, that's exactly it. And after that, this summer, as I said, I was biking. I love biking. I got this guy on a podcast. I mean, I listened to one of his podcasts, Blake Mykowski.
Yeah.
You know him on Ed Milet's podcast, and that was one of those holy shit moments because yes, that's exactly it. That's exactly what I've been looking for. Building a business with a mission. Don't build a business just for the sake of of making money for yourself. Yeah, that's nice. You have to take care of yourself, your family, but there's a much bigger purpose, which is helping, doing good in the world. That's something I always wanted to do. And after that, I had a lot of other things that were just coming around to me, getting this idea for this pair of product I want to do and all that. So as you said, you can almost draw a line, connect
Yeah.
all the dots. That's amazing. Another fun question for you.
All
I
right.
think you can go back. You have you're blessed with a time machine. You can go back to when, let's say you're talking to your 18-year-old self. What number one piece of advice would you give to yourself? Let's say you're talking right now,
Yeah.
facing yourself at 18, straight face to face. What number one piece of advice would you tell him? Well, lol yourself, yeah.
Yeah. I think the piece of advice that I think would trump all other things would be more important than everything else. Sorry, that word has like loaded now. It
Oh,
has two
yeah.
meanings.
I know.
would be to come from to know that like there is enough, there's so much abundance, there's so much that is possible, and like coming from that place and believing that, and not operating out of a place of fear and scarcity,
Totally.
operating out of a place of abundance and love. If I could, it's something you kind of have to learn, I feel like, to some degree, but if I could have told myself that back then, I think that some of the lessons that I learned could have been avoided, and life would be more enjoyable. There'd be more joy and peace in some of the areas of my life and challenges that I've gone through.
Awesome. Now let's continue with that time machine, but now you're back to today. Let's say you have a very successful podcast, and today you have the most special, amazing guest ever, which is yourself. You're interviewing yourself. What is the first question you would ask yourself?
Oh man. First question I would ask myself.
And this is yourself today, not in the future,
Yeah.
not in the past, but today.
Wow. What would I ask myself?
The first question that would come to mind. I don't want you to go to think too deep. Just what is the first question that would come to your mind that you want to ask yourself? Because this is going to be a segue to that and to something else, but I don't want you to think too much about it now. First, what is the first question that come to your mind?
Did you know what it would be like to be a dad?
What makes you say that?
Well, it's just like, I don't hear many people talking about how
Yeah, no.
actually great it is to be a parent.
Sure.
I feel a lot of people are complaining about their kids and like, oh, it's so much work and obligation and stuff. But I don't recall like very many people sitting around talking about like, this is like one of the greatest gifts you could possibly experience. And yeah, life might be good like this and you have all your freedom, but life is gonna be a little wider when you have a kid. There's gonna be and it's gonna teach you you're gonna grow so much. And you're also gonna have like this experience that I have with my kids of like unconditional love is like really hard to know, understand, experience, feel until you just have your own. And so I think maybe that's why people aren't talking about it so much, is like you just have to do it to really be able to know.
Yeah, and honestly, having kids and raising kids, I don't have kids yet, but that's something I'm looking forward to when the time comes. And having a kid is probably the single biggest, greatest, most fulfilling investment of our lives, not just from a financial point, but from a personal growth, personal, you know, just like planting a tree and you see that tree growing, but the tree that's interacting with you on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes you just want to slap the crap out of him. Sometimes you just want to love him, but still,
Yeah.
it's an incredible journey.
It is. And it's really mind blowing. I mean, I can remember distinct times when I've like, man, I feel like I'm a pretty good dad. I'm like, work hard to do my best. And then sometimes you're like, yeah, I just failed. But then they just come over and they give you this hug like nothing ever happened. They don't care. They just want your love. And it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, it's cool.
So now, okay, that's an awesome question. Now, imagine you're still talking interviewing yourself. What is the one question that you always wanted to ask yourself but never dared to ask? Again, talking to your current self. For this one, you might want to think a bit deeper because that's something that
Question you've always wanted to ask, but you're afraid to
ask yourself, no one else, yourself, your deep subconscious or whatever you want to call it.
Maybe something in the vein of like wondering and believing. It's that's less of a question, I feel like, but like the dream that you have, like, wondering, is that really possible? Can you really achieve that?
Talking about the future, maybe some plans you have for the future that you're working and you're not sure about.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm pretty sure of my of that. This is, man, you're asking really tough, good questions. what that I'm afraid to ask. I don't know, man. That's a good one. I do a lot of writing and journaling
Mm,
and kind of self creation, I like to call it.
okay.
And yeah, some of the stuff. So it's like there's not too many nooks and crannies that like I haven't gone through at this point. I'm 36. Am I 36 or 37? I'm 36. You get to that age where you're like, I don't even know how old I am anymore.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, where one of my guiding principles has always just been to like make decisions that allow you to go to bed with peace at night.
I love that. I love
And
that.
so I don't know that there's any questions that I'm afraid to ask myself
Mhm.
because I sleep with peace at night. And that sort of to me, like asking that question, like what would you like to ask yourself that you're afraid to ask, sort to me implies that there's something that I'm avoiding or pushing off. And maybe that's not the intention of the question, but to me that feels a little bit like that. And
Okay.
I don't think that there's something that stands
Oh,
out to me there.
no, that's fine. Okay, cool. Awesome. That's awesome. I love that. All right. Now, is there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't asked you yet
Hmm.
that I need to
Anything
ask
you
you?
should. I don't know. What do you want to know anything about adventuring? Do you?
Oh, I love it. Adventure is my middle name, brother. It's my
All
middle
right.
name. I love adventuring. You know.
Cool. So this is actually one of our, and we'll talk about this when we all get together. But we have the Jamil, Alex, and I. Um, we have built out this concept and framework called the framework for fulfillment.
Okay.
And one of the aspects of that is fun and like intentionally cultivating fun into our lives and
Love that.
adventure. And for me, that's like a lot of the fun is adventure. Um,
Wow.
and I think it's really important that we all think about that and not just like say fun is only for kids. And kids are, again, coming back to kids will make you have fun.
Absolutely. You
We
must.
like, you must. My oldest daughter, when she was younger, there was a 6-month period where she woke me up every day and asked to have a dance party. And I like before that, I don't dance. So we had dance parties for like a month in a row. It
First thing in
was
the morning.
awesome.
Wow.
First thing in the morning, like wake up, dad, let's have a dance party. Let me tell you, that's a good way to start the day.
Oh, that's a
Uh,
best way to start. That's gonna put a big smile on your face for the rest of the day. Nothing else can. I mean, that's the best way to. That's actually that can be one of the hacks. You know,
yeah, yeah,
you start
totally.
the day dancing or whatever.
Yeah, forget the contrast shower. Just dance with your kid.
Exactly. If you don't have a kid, just be yourself, whatever.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
for adventuring for me, that looks like spending time in the mountains and climbing mountains. And over the past 5 or 6 years or so, I got into this sport called split boarding,
What's that?
which is backcountry snowboarding.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it's a snowboard that's cut in half down the middle. So you have like two skis. So you
Uh-huh.
can put skins on the bottom and skin uphill just like a backcountry skier.
Okay.
And then when you get to the top, you flip the bindings and you can ride down.
Nice.
So yeah, it's really fun because I got to a point where like, okay, when you're younger, you're at least I think as a generalization, especially for men, you tend to like see what you're made of, push yourself, like climbing mountains. It was like doing a bunch of hard things and trying to figure out, what I was capable of. And then after a while, I was like, this is kind of not that fun anymore. It's just kind of hard.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like when you're especially like 20s male, you're trying to kind of figure out like who you are and what you're made of. And so I was doing a lot of climbing and climbing mountains and did that for years. But then I was like, after a while, I was kind of like, this isn't really that fun anymore. It's just kind of painful. So, but I still love being out there. It's still cool. So then when splitboarding is introduced, because the worst part is going down, right?
Mhm.
It's just a long slog down. But when you have a snowboard, that's the best part. You can just like fly back down and you can do 5 minutes to do 1,000 vertical feet just going back down. So And you can
Oh,
go anywhere, anytime. You don't have to worry about a lift. Like last year, we skinned to the top of a mountain up here called Mount Baker. It's about like 10,700 feet, and then got to do a 7,000-foot snowboard run back down to the car with like nobody else out there. There's like beautiful glaciers. It's just
whoa.
such a cool, amazing experience.
Did you record that? Did you have a GoPro on you too?
No, I have some pictures, but we didn't have a video that day.
Oh my God. Next time you do, please, you need that because that's gonna be amazing to see.
Yeah, it's super fun. So anyway, that's just one of the ways that love to adventure. And I think that having fun and adventuring is important and adds so
Oh,
much to the fulfillment in our lives.
for sure. And plus, there's so much to do in this world. The world is, believe it or not, still very beautiful. There's still a lot of amazing adventures we can do. Like for me, one of the things I would love to do is to cross the ocean, whether it's Atlantic or Pacific, on a boat, like on a catamaran, something like that, or maybe even cross the Sahara Desert or the
Hmm.
Amazon rainforest. If I think I would be, if you tell me, hey, payment, let's go do that, I would drop everything and I'll be okay. When do we go?
Yeah,
When do
for
we go?
sure.
I just
Right.
my passport, my wallet, and let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I love how, I mean, you've done so much and traveled so much. That's something that I would love to do sometime in the future. So that's super cool.
You know, I read a quote that's, I mean, it's not a quote, it's something very, yeah, that said, traveling is like a book. And each page that you read is like each country that, each new places that you visit. And if you only visit just like a few pages, you're missing so much more. And it's just like a drug. The more you do it, the more you say, wow, there's so many places that I still need to. There are over 200 countries in the world.
Hmm.
And even me, you said I've been to a lot of places, but yes and no. There's still, I mean, I still have about 180 countries to go to.
Yeah. There's still so much more. Yeah.
I don't think this lifetime will be enough. I would need maybe a handful of lifetimes, maybe one in each
Hmm.
continent.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the one of the other beautiful things about traveling is like, especially with how much, you know, division and everything that's going on in the world right now, is like when you go travel and you're immersed in those other cultures, it helps you to just be like aware and understanding of like how other people are living and where, where they're from, and have context. And just, I feel like it opens you up to that instead of being like stuck in your little bubble and the way you do things and everybody else does things wrong. Or like traveling can help open that up.
Not only, totally, totally, not only on a human basis, but also in business, because in business, doesn't matter what business you are, whether it's e-commerce, consulting, you're in a people business. You're dealing with people. And to understand people, after living in 10 countries on 4 continents, the one thing I noticed, people everywhere, they're the same. They all
Hmm.
have the same desire, the basic need, the basic thing. They all want to be happy, to be fulfilled, to be recognized, and to do something that's meaningful, regardless
Hmm.
whether you're Chinese, you're American, you're Afghan, you're Egyptian, you're French, you're Brazilian. Same, same. It's
Yeah.
just in Asia, same, same, but different. But no, it's not different. Same, same. And
Yeah.
and when you do that, it allows you to really not only understand the people around you, but also understand yourself, and that allows you to become a better person. And also when you're able to better interact, to better connect with people, because business is all about connecting with people, relating with them, and ultimately that's going to allow you to become better in business as well,
Yeah,
because
for
business is all
sure.
about, because you're dealing with people, how to connect, how to relate, and how to establish trust and rapport. And that's what you get through, and that's something that no schooling, no a book or anything can teach you. To some extent they can, but when you're on the ground, especially when you go to places that you don't know anyone, you don't speak the language. Like for example, I lived in China for 4 years.
Hmm.
You're surrounded with people, but you feel completely alone, completely isolated, because you cannot read anything. The language is so alien. And I'm good with languages. I learned 4 languages by myself without even stepping into without taking a single class. But because the Chinese language is so different, but still, even despite all these differences, people are still people. Because
Yeah.
the words is one thing, but facial expressions and body language, these are universal. Even
Hmm.
the vibes, the energy you send to someone.
Energy. Yeah.
that you send to someone, whether it's hostile or more friendly, they can very easily perceive that. They can know that, hey, this guy is a happy guy, is here not to, is not in a with any bad intentions. They will be open to you, and vice
Hmm.
versa. If you're like, this guy has something, I have to be careful.
Yeah.
So exactly, yeah, it's awesome. So just before we finish, and that's something you mentioned earlier, that as I said, the name of this podcast and the theme is Leaders with a Heart. We bring in people who are doing great things, but also have tremendous heart, and also contributing in some way, shape, and form to a cause uh, that is dear to the heart. What would you say, David? That what cause would you say is really that you're really passionate about?
Um, yeah. The couple of causes that I'm passionate about. One is water, and making sure that everyone, has enough water provided for. It's just, an essential to being alive. And my partners and I and Real Results Academy are going to be contributing in that way. And then also the climber Alex Honnold. Have you heard of Alex Honnold before?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's like the most famous climber of all time. He's a rock star in that
Wow.
world. So even if you don't know any other climbers, you might know him. He free soloed El Capitan.
Wow.
Um, he's insane. But he has a foundation that's committed to solar and providing like clean energy and power, especially in similar places to where people don't have water.
Mhm.
And so those are a couple of causes that I think are really doing good things in the world and are important.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. And so if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to do so?
The best way to do so is to go to davidweavercoach.com. And that's my personal website. Talks about what I do in working with small business owners and has a little bit of my background on there. You can just reach out to me on there. Um, uh, and that's the best way. Yeah.
Okay, and I will definitely make sure to put a link to your to your music. You said you have Spotify and all that. That's something people definitely need to listen to, because I can see that's not only that's a part that you're most passionate about, but also I can see that's a huge part of who you are. And
Hmm.
people want because it's all about connecting and relating, and people need to see that, because once they see that, they can really appreciate you for who you are, can really understand you, and will see what a tremendous human being you are. Because the music or whatever outlet we use is a form of expression of our identity, of our goals, dreams, feelings, and all that. And when you listen to someone's creation, whether it's a music, a book, a sculpture, whatever, you can learn a lot about them just through that.
Hmm. Yeah,
So yeah, definitely, I will definitely, please send me the link to your music,
I will.
and
Yeah.
I'll definitely share that on the show notes. So any parting tips that would give to anyone listening right now?
Mm. Parting tip that I would give is just to anybody out there, you're enough as you are right now.
Wow,
Start with that premise.
love that. You're enough. Start with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, David, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor having you. I'm sure we could talk a lot more, but we'll keep that for another time. And yeah, so with
Yeah. Thank
this,
you so much, Payman. I really appreciate the invitation, and chatting with you and getting to know you is awesome. And then,
it's
yeah.
a pleasure. Thanks a lot, and we'll keep in touch. Take care. Have a great one.
All
Cheers.
right. You too.